Hey everybody, today I'm going to be working on an iPhone 7 that was sent here all the way from Austria, Österreich, for no power, and it is also labeled data do not wipe, which is a very common request for the iPhone 7. Many people have had half their lives tied up on these things, or half of their iPhone 7 lives anyways, and all of a sudden they just die for no reason. Most of them are boot looping. This one is actually no power. So let's have a look at this thing and see what we are up against. The first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to read their note. It says, "Dear Jason, please be so kind to add an expertise of the possible cause that was responsible for the malfunction. I do need this to apply for a refund as we have 2 years warranty on electronic products by law in Europe. Remind me never to sell electronics in Europe." 2 years by law. That's actually kind of cool if you're a consumer. Sucks if you're a manufacturer. Okay. I am going to have a look at this thing and see what we were up against. As you can see, I've not opened the phone yet. I don't know, I really don't know what's wrong with it. I don't know if it's been through another shop. Chances are, if it's been sent here all the way from Europe, it's already had other hands on it and people's looked at it and tried. Let's go ahead and take the screws out of the bottom of this thing. We're going to grab a screw mat. We're going to start with the Penelope lobes on the bottom here. 1. It's funny how many words in German are very similar to English and how many things are just like not even in the same ballpark. You know what? If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to say that I am opening a virgin iPhone 7? Really? Do I really get to be first? I never get to be first. Okay. Don't laugh. Should heat it up a little bit. No way, that would take extra time. Yeah, I'm most likely not going to be first. Alright, so the first thing we do here, I'm going to use our fancy tri-wing driver here. Is this an Apple proprietary driver? I don't think I've ever seen this screw before prior to the iPhone 7. And am I nuts? Or does it seem to be random if we have tri-wings here or here? It kind of seems like Apple mixes it up just to screw with people. Okay, so this one's going to have Phillips head screws here on this side. Now this one is labeled as no power, so I don't suspect that it's boot looping. I had one the other day that was no power, and I fixed the no power problem, and then it wound up being a shorted baseband CPU, which I should have checked that before fixing the no power issue, but I didn't. So the first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to disconnect the battery. I'm going to leave everything else connected, and I'm going to go for the DC power supply. I like how these are color-coded. I know that the black one here is the iPhone 7, so we're going to connect this iPhone 7 Plus lead to the power supply here. As you can see, I've already got the DC power supply on the screen. When I turn it on, it will no longer show what amperage we're set to. It's going to show what amperage that we're drawing. So I'm going to turn the supply on, and we are going to draw 3 amps. Okay, that means that we have a short on a main power line. Yay, these are awesome for video because I'm about 95% sure that this phone is going to power on whenever I'm done with it. Let's go ahead. I'm going to disconnect the screen from it, and we're going to do a little bit of detective work here and track down a short. Since it did draw a full 3 amps, I'm going to say that the short is on VDD main and not VDD boost. Whenever we've got a short on VDD boost, it will typically draw, don't quote me on this, less than 3 amps. My last one was drawing just over an amp. So the VDD boost shorts will draw a little bit less power than a VDD main short, but they will draw power the very second that you connect power, rather than whenever you push the power button. When you run into shorts on like NAND lines and other secondary lines, you won't get any sort of an excess current draw until after you push the power button to try to prompt it to boot. And I'm going to try to keep autofocus from driving you nuts. Bye bye, autofocus. We don't need you here. Let's continue to take this phone apart. Get this crazy looking antenna contraption out of here. I think we got one more Phillips screw right down here. Nope, we got two. We got this one this one, and the rest are these standoff posts, which this driver will work very well on iPhone 7. Not worth a crap on 7 Plus. I don't know why that is. They sure look the same, but they're not. Otherwise, it would be the same. That one. We're going to now disconnect these antennas. There we are. Dun, 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 dun. Let's remove the SIM card. Throw that out of the way. And now I'm going to lift the board out of the phone. Provided I didn't forget any screws, it'll come out with very much ease. Alright, so I don't think anybody's messed with this before. Yay, nobody's messed with it. Yippee! Yay, yay, nobody's messed with it! I'm going to go ahead and hook up my handy homemade soldered straight pin to a the first ever probe I used for micro soldering. We're going to disconnect the positive lead on my Sharpus, and I'm going to connect the positive lead of this so that I can kind of poke around with some current. I'm going to check and make sure that this is a VCC main short. So to do that, I'm going to look at the board view file here, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to find us a nice place to get a hold of VDD main. We're going to have some VDD boost around this boost IC, but we should also have some VDD main. So here we've got VDD main here. We're going to peel off this back sticker. I'm going to start putting a little bit of current into this board. Now, to do this, rather than clamping round onto it, since I've already got my power supply leads here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take our lead here for the iPhone 7 Plus, or the iPhone 7. I'm going to make sure the supply is off, and we are going to go ahead and connect this. Now, my only reason for connecting this now is to give me ground. You know, I've already, I've disconnected my positive lead here from my supply, so we don't have positive going through there. I've only connected that for ground. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my, wait, I didn't check to make sure we had a VDD main short. Let's do that first. So I'm going to put my black probe on ground, and I'm going to put my red probe right here, which is VDD main, and I get 0.9, 0.9. I get 1 ohm as a resistance. So that tells me that we definitely have a short on VDD main. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and turn the power supply on. We're currently set for 3 amps at 4.2 volts. And I'm going to take, and I'm going to try to find this with my fingers first, which it's a very firm short. It's 1 ohm, so chances are it's not going to make a whole lot of heat that I can find with my hands. So here we go, 3 amps right here at this spot. It's drawing the supply down to 0.9 volts at 3.2 amps. We're only, that's only about 3 watts, so it's not going to, it's not drawing a ton of power. And what I'm trying to do here is just get a rough idea as to which part of the board is getting warm. And I'm going to say, it feels to me like this is more likely the bottom part of the board that's getting warm. One day, guys, I'm going to buy a thermal camera. Not today, though. So to up my game just a fuzz, I'm going to take my ground here, and I'm going to plug it into this side of my power supply. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to adjust my voltage over here down to 4 volts, and I'm going to hit the parallel button, which is going to give me both of my outputs in parallel, and we're going to turn that on. So now I'm capable of delivering 6 amps of power. Let's switch back over to the microscope here, and I'm going to put my red probe now back on VDD main. Being really careful because this time we're going to draw some amperes. Okay. Okay, I'm now positive All right. Since I've done that, see, I didn't just sit here and pour the coals to it. This was just enough for me to get a vague idea as to which end of the PCB the short is on. Now, if you have a thermal camera, sweet, because that's going to you're going to be able to see it. Bam. Okay, here's the short down here. One day I'll be rich enough to buy a $900 camera. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and peel the bottom sticker off. There we are. There we are. Somebody in Austria is going to be very happy. Alright, so now we're going to do it again. But first, I'm going to switch over to the board view here. And let's get to the bottom of it. And here is all of our possibilities on the bottom side for VDD main. And I'm just going to pick out something here that'll work. Something that isn't in too close a proximity with other things. I'm going to actually go for these couple of caps here. So switching you back under the microscope. I'm going to use my same high current setting here on the power supply because I don't have time to deal with low current. And which one was that? Let's see. It was these two here. Ow! Alright, so we're getting very close. I'm going to go ahead and use some freeze spray on this one. And I'm going to freeze the whole bottom end of the board here. Frosted over nice. Okay. We're going to do this again. Ooh, here we go. And there's our shorted cap. Now, without the freeze spray, they can be very hard to find because it looks just like any other cap. Just so you can see that once more, and a lot of you that are watching this channel, you're very familiar with using freeze spray. In the beginning I was anti-freeze spray, but that was just because of things I'd heard other people say and was being a major follower, but there are no rules, guys. There's no book. You get to come up with this stuff on your own. So here we are. I'm going to touch VDD main again. We get. Whoop. There we go. There's our cap. So, before I forget which one it is, I'm going to go ahead and put a nice scratch here in it. There we go. That way I won't forget which cap that is. Now, I'm going to disconnect that from the power supply. I don't like all the moisture that we get from using freeze spray, especially here in Florida. It's really humid, so the condensation is it's off the charts. So I'm going to blow some of the condensation off here. The other side of the board is not so easy. If you blow this sticker too hard, it'll blow it everywhere. It'll take chunks out of it. So I'm going to be a little more careful on that side. Yeah, the iPhone 7 has really put some gray lines in between data recovery and repair. It's, you know, what do you call it when somebody says, I really want it fixed, but can you get my data? And then you wind up being able to get it working, but no baseband, or it's just there's some gray area with the iPhone 7. Let's not go into all that. What we are going to go into here is a full-blown repair on this one. I'm not going to need the power supply set up in this manner anymore. I'm also not going to need my cool homemade probe, so we're going to throw that aside. Let's move this back over here. We're going to turn this off of parallel mode so that I've got a single channel here at 3 volts. That's going to be for testing. Let's swap out this caparoo, shall we? I'm waiting for the board to warm up a little bit too. I'm going to use a little bit of hot air. We're going to add a little bit of flux to it. Oh my goodness. The last job I did with this flux was an iPhone 6s backlight filter, so I got all of my backlight filter puke all over it. I love that sound. Ching, shing. Alright, so we're going to use my embarrassing tipped hot tweezers here. We're going to warm this up so that it's, you know what, this was really cold. Let's warm it up slow so we don't break anything. There we go. We've got the old shorted steaming pile of garbage out of the way. I'm going to add just a little bit of flux here, and we're going to shine up the pads because we like shiny pads. Now I'm always using hot air here. If you're having trouble getting solder to flow, it's either flux or heat. If it's not flowing, usually heat. I mean, if you got flux there, it's just not hot enough. So we're going to make sure it's hot enough, that way I can just touch it. And I feel like I've got too much solder there. I'm going to add just a tiny bit more flux so I can get this to fluff right. We'll take it. Now we are going to grab a brand spanking new VCC main cap. We are going to install a 10 microfarad 6.3 volt capacitor. Alright, so here is our VCC main capacitor. And just to put this in perspective so that everybody gets a good idea as to what it is that I'm looking at, there's a toothpick. Here is our VCC main cap. Okay, that's just, that'll give you an idea of how big this component is. So now we're going to take this blessed VCC main cap, we're going to sit it here close by. I'm going to add just a tiny bit more flux. And we're going to sit it on the board. One day I'm going to order some new tips for these hot tweezers. Every day that I use those hot tweezers the way they are now is another day that I wish I would have just bought JVC tweezers. Okay. Here we go. It's just marvelous. All except for the matte swelling and putting me out of focus. One day I'll learn not to do that on my videos. Alright guys, so we have replaced the shorted capacitor. While this thing is hot, I am going to go ahead, I'm going to take my alcohol bath here. The toothbrush is really just a dispenser. It's not really brushing anything, it's just flushing this with alcohol. What I'm trying to do is flood my hot chip quick flux out of there. It don't hurt it if you leave it on there. This flux doesn't seem to turn things gray and oxidize them. Okay, so now we've got that capacitor nicely flooded with alcohol. I'm going to take some canned air and I'm going to spray the excess alcohol off of here. And also, now that I've heated up the board to soldering temperature, I can be pretty comfortable that any condensation that was left behind by my freeze spray is gone. So before I connect power to this, just to be certain, I'm going to take my multimeter and I'm going to swing back over here and I'm going to check for a resistance mode measurement on VDD main, and we get 3.7 thousand ohms. So that tells me that our VDD main short is gone. So to finish this repair, and before I even test it, what I will do is I will go ahead and heat this board up like this. A lot of people have asked me why my hot air, for the love of God, don't drop the board. A lot of people have asked me why my hot air nozzle is turned around backwards. This is why. I use it all the time as a heat gun, and I don't want to have to hold the hot air nozzle to do it. And I use my fingers as a judge to tell me whenever it's getting too hot. If my fingers feel like, if my fingers feel like they're going to bleed or going to blister, the board is most likely getting too hot. Once the board is hot, I will go ahead and put the stickers back on it, but only whenever it's hot. Otherwise, they won't stick. I don't know, I guess they will sometimes. Okay, so there's the bottom one. And I know it's crinkled up a little bit, that's okay. I'm just trying to roughly get it into place. So now I'm going to heat up, wait, that was the top one. Now I'm going to heat up the bottom end of the board. Nice and hot. Put our bottom sticker back on it. Doesn't have to be perfectly straight. And I give it a little bit of pressure while it cools. I don't like the mat, the way it draws up and stuff as it heats and cools. So I move it off to the side away from my mat and I do it on the hard table. And I just hold it there while it cools. All right. These are very simple repair, guys. When you have shorts on main power lines, they are typically really simple repairs. And with the iPhone 7, you just gotta pray to everything holy that whenever you get it done, it's not going to be boot looping or have other failures. Boy, what a lemon. The iPhone 7's been a real lemon, guys. But as long as, I've said it 100 times, we continue to have ceramic capacitors and they continue to short, all of us guys that are in the micro soldering business, we're always going to have a job. This isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So, to keep from backtracking, I'm going to put in a minimal amount of screws here before testing. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put, you know what, let's be ballsy. Let's put the entire phone back together and you can watch me gamble. Everybody watch me gamble and see if I put this all the way back together and then have to take it all the way back apart because the audio chip's messed up or something. We're going to get these crazy standoff posts back in place. There we are. Bottom one. I'm going to stick a better camera on my hands really soon because I would like to make this as clear as possible. I also plan to start posting routine videos. I don't want to put an exact time frame on it just yet because I don't want to get committed to something. I don't want to make promises that I can't keep. Look for much more frequent posting from me than I have in the past. This Florida move has been in the works for quite some time before I announced it. That has played a lot and me having to back away and kind of do my own thing. But after the move, it has been a really tough adjustment, so that's been, you know, that's played a big part of it too. We're going to go ahead and get this crazy thing back in place, and on this phone, we used tri-wing drivers. I swear, I think it's random. I am so busy, I've never paid attention for sure whether or not it's random, but it seems like whether or not we've got Phillips here and tri-wing here, it seems like that has been totally random, so please let me know. Now we've got all of our goodies screws in here. Let's go ahead and hook up these bottom two antenna cables. Good Lord, I'm missing one. Oh no, it's directly under the other one, right? Just out of my view. I'm going to put the long one under first. Oops. I do it under the microscope to keep from breaking anything. Now we're going to do our short one. Now also on the iPhone 7 with all of the bottom heat, or actually heat on any of the board, you do a baseband IC, audio IC, it winds up crinkling up these stickers, which I take them off. If I can do it without crinkling them up, I will leave them, but I usually wind up taking these things off because they're sort of useless anyways. And I don't want to have any chance of it getting in the way of the connector. So let's check the top one. Top side's fine. So now we've got our antenna coaxes hooked back up. And it is time for testing. Anybody want to place any bets? I do. I'm going to bet you that this phone comes on and works. Furthermore, I'm going to bet you that it's going to display a battery charging icon just briefly, and then an Apple logo, because this battery has been shorted. It has not ran dead. It's most likely still got a good charge. It has just got some sort of internal circuit breaker trips. So let's go ahead and hook up our top flex. There we go. Let's hook up our bottom flexes. Oh, I forgot our dock flex. Crying out loud. And let's just use a regular old lightning cable and see if we get quick battery. and then Apple logo. There we go, ready? Click. Battery charging icon. Don't make a liar out of me. Okay, now, Apple logo. Yes, Apple logo. Apple logo, yes. Okay, in all fairness, this thing did ride on a boat or something from Europe all the way to the United States. So let's let this thing boot up. I'm not going to get it too close to the camera because I don't want to reveal somebody's kid or something. It flashed once. Is it boot looping or was that normal bootage? Charger connect vibrate. A little long there on the Apple logo, guys. Okay, and we have a lock screen with working touch. We have no passcode. The phone opened right up. I'm going straight to the voice memo app, and I'm going to check a couple of things here. Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. We know we have audio. 1, 2, 3. Blah 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 blah. And then I'm going to check proximity sensor. We have working proximity sensor. Now I'm going to play it back. Testing, 1, 2, 3. We know we have audio. 1, 2, 3. Blah 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 blah. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and check ear speaker. We have ear speakers, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna hit done. I'm gonna delete my voice memo. Delete it, and I'm gonna go ahead and lock the screen. And that's wait a minute. We're not done yet. I still got to finish putting this phone back together. I'm going to finish this repair because the repair is not finished until it's finished. Let's go ahead and put the top bracket on, making certain to use the longest screw possible. I'm kidding. Don't do that. Okay, let's put our bottom bracket back on. I am curious to know if these screws exist in any other walk of life or if it's only in the Apple series. It seems Apple sort of likes to do their own thing. I understand that Apple does do things to make repair a royal pain in the neck. Like, what would be the reasoning behind pairing up the ambient light sensor or any of these other things for that matter? But I also feel like Apple gets thrown on the bus more than any other phone manufacturer because Samsung does some crazy stuff too, and there's well-known flaws with power ICs, power management issues and getting hot, and you just don't hear about that near as often as you do with Apple failures. So here we are back with our Pentalobe driver. Time to remagnetize. There we go. There we go. It's not complete until it's got the Pentalobes in it. And the SIM tray. Apple logo. Guys, that is going to be it for this video. This is a really straightforward VDD main short. I was sort of hoping this would be VDD boost because I've got... You see it flash? That makes me nervous every time they flash. This was a really simple VDD main short. I was sort of hoping this was going to be boost so I could show you the different in current draw and where the shorts are out on the board, but nevertheless, this is a successful repair. This customer in Europe is going to be extremely happy because he has got his phone back in working condition. It has all of the data on it, and since I have to ship this all the way to the other side of the planet before this ships, I'm going to plug it into iTunes and I'm going to create a backup of this phone and hang on to his data until I know he's got his phone back safely. So that is going to be the end of this video. If you like this type of thing, please subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, comment, let me know you're here. I love the comments. It keeps me going, makes me happy, and it's really awesome. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Have a good day.